Hello and welcome back to Sustainability Live Singapore. Let's go to our first fireside of the day, how accelerated sustainability action makes business sense. And it's a real pleasure to introduce Anirban Ghosh, who heads the Centre for Sustainability at the Mahindra University. Hi Anirban, how are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. Happy to be here.
Lovely stuff. Well, you are our first fireside chat of the day today, and there's an awful lot for us to get to, so let's move on. And I'm going to start with a question that I know always comes up at any of our sustainability events. You can guarantee a hand in the audience or a virtual question will come in along these lines, and that is how sustainability action and business growth can coexist at the same time. There's always the question of, well, will these sustainability steps affect our bottom line? Will it get in the way of our old-fashioned business progress? For you, can they both coexist at the same time?
The answer is an unequivocal yes. They definitely can. When we are talking about sustainability and business growth, let's look at the revenue side of the P&L. There are a number of solutions today which are necessary for us to live a better life on the planet. Let's call them climate solutions. Each one of these climate solutions provides an opportunity for business growth. Let's take the obvious ones like renewable energy and electric vehicles. If you're in these businesses, the only thing that you can do is go through business growth. But there are some less obvious ones. If you're in the construction business, if you were to start building green buildings, then you will get an opportunity to grow business because these are the buildings of the future. And if you are if you are a supplier in the ecosystem of your industry, then adopting sustainability practices can help you increase share of business. These are some examples of how sustainability action can contribute to business growth.
Do you feel it's quite an old-fashioned attitude to think that the two can't contribute to each other and assist each other?
Yes, it is, and there is often the belief that sustainability is a cost, sustainability will wear the business down. There is absolutely no reason to think that way.
So let's look at some practical examples. For you, what are the best examples of sustainability practices really driving innovation and driving businesses forward?
So there are many examples from different industries. Let me take one or two. Whichever industry you're in, if you have a manufacturing process, there is some waste getting generated. In most countries, you have to spend money to get rid of the waste. But if you can figure out ways of repurposing the waste in some way, you can actually save yourself that money and perhaps earn some more. In our manufacturing locations, we figured out that we can create value from paint sludge. First, reduce the cost of disposing it by, creating turpentine oil and a few other byproducts from paint sludge, and then reducing its weight to such an extent that the cost of disposal goes down. We've also discovered that it does not have to go to landfill. It can go to the cement kilns to be incinerated in a responsible manner. One of our businesses, which used to generate a lot of steel pieces as waste, discovered that they could use those steel pieces to make the cores of transformers. So for them, it became an additional business, and it was an example of a sustainable practice driving innovation, driving revenue. There are many, many more examples like this. Wherever there is lightweighting of automobiles, wherever there is the rejuvenation of passive design practices in buildings, there are ways of innovation which come from sustainable practices. In fact, I'm happy to tell you that the Mahindra Group has launched India's first net zero energy buildings by adopting sustainable practices at scale.
And that's fantastic news as well. Just returning to the title of this session, that's Accelerated Sustainability Action Makes Business Sense. Accelerated for me there is the key word, because it's all well and good a company putting out a sustainability policy once a year and reporting once a year and just moving things along without really innovating and pushing things on. For you, the more progress a company makes, such as or the Mahindra Group makes, for an example, in the sustainability field, the greater the benefit and the growth. Is that what you see on a day-to-day basis?
Oh, absolutely. So when you're starting out, you tend to be more, do a few more experiments, try and see, is this working, is this not working, and so on. So when we started out about 15 years ago, perhaps a little bit more, we had also started doing this experimentation. And over a 5-year period, we had done maybe 115 sustainability projects, but we discovered that all of these gave us return on capital employed greater than 24%. The question to then ask was, how many more of these projects could we do? And in the next 5 years, we did upwards of 2,000 projects of this kind. All of these projects gave us returns in excess of 24%. And there was absolutely no reason why we should not invest every extra dollar available into sustainable projects of this kind.
And they're excellent examples of the acceleration there, and that's a fantastic increase of projects. But looking at how sustainability can enhance a company's competitiveness, because that's frankly why every company is there. They want to be competitive, they want to grow, they want to succeed. From what you've seen, do you see it as a way to enhance competitiveness because of that innovation and that fresh thinking?
Oh, absolutely. So what does competitiveness mean? Let's just break that down. To be if you were able to reduce your cost of operations, your likelihood of being competitive is higher. If the product or service that you provide is differentiated from the competition, your competitiveness is likely to be higher. So let's look at a couple of examples. The best example of sustainable practices that help reduce cost is in the area of energy, the transition to renewable energy and energy efficiency. Another example by which sustainable practices can help bring costs down is something we've alluded to in the previous question, which is to reduce the cost of disposal of waste and create value from the waste that you generate. Again, sustainable practices leads to adoption of new kinds of raw material, a lot of lightweighting in your products, which again reduces cost of goods sold. So these are some ways in which you can reduce cost. Depending on the industry in which you operate, you can ask the question, what are the ways I can use sustainable practices to reduce cost in my operations? But probably the bigger bang for the buck lies in creating differentiation in your products. There is the humble ceiling fan, which we usually never even look up and see. But there is a huge technological transformation happening in this space, and the new ceiling fans, which use BLDC technology, use 1/3 the power of the conventional ceiling fan. If you are in that industry, this is definitely a way by which your business will gain competitiveness. In automobiles, we've always been increasing fuel efficiency, but the pace has definitely increased. The transition to electric vehicles is getting faster and faster. If you are in an electric appliance industry, then the lower cost of operation of your appliances, because of the fact that they are more and more energy efficient, creates and enhances competitiveness for your company. And we are seeing that happening in industry all the time.
Absolutely, huge selling points. One thing I did want to return to is when you were talking about the success of different sustainability projects at Mahindra Group. You were immediately able to reel off how successful they were. Now, I guess the key there to be able to reel off how successful things are is by high quality reporting? Because I guess it can be very tempting for a business to have put together a new strategy, a new plan, or release it into the wild, be very proud of yourself, we're doing this in a new way. If you can't quantify how successful it is, does it become harder to get buy-in from the C-suite, the highest levels of a company, which will encourage further innovation? Is the key there accurate and high quality internal reporting?
Absolutely right. I mean, why would anybody want to invest in something where the benefits can't be understood or even quantified? The good news is that there are many types of sustainability action where financial returns are great. I know there are many technologies, green technologies, which are evolving as of now, where the costs are still higher than conventional technologies. But that has been the case with every technology in the world. In recent times, we've seen how renewable energy has become cheaper and cheaper to the extent that now it's cheaper than conventional energy. We've seen the cost of batteries go down. We've seen the cost of electric vehicles go down. So we will see that with other technologies, which today we are saying are more expensive. But the short answer to your question, you will be able to accelerate sustainability action whenever you will be able to quantify the benefits, whether you quantify it in financial terms, in decarbonization terms, whichever terms you choose to define success for your business, you will be able to accelerate practice if you are able to quantify the returns.
Now, it'd be remiss of me to have someone of your experience with us on the show today without looking into some advice for people. As we say, it's important to quantify what success is. How do you go about being very honest with yourself? Because you could have got good returns from a particular sustainability program. How important is it to analyse that program or that strategy and still think this actually could be better? We may have made a 5% improvement, a 10% improvement. How could it be 20? How could it be 25? How crucial is it that people are very honest with themselves and honest as a business about how things could be better, or recognise when things maybe haven't worked as well as they could have done?
If you found a good thing, you find that, hey, this is actually good for business, it's logical to ask how much better can it get? And the example I was sharing with you, that when we had done 100 odd projects, getting returns of 24% on ROCE, the logical question we asked is how many more such projects exist in the business? And how come we didn't think of this before? And then let's say you've adopted renewable energy at a given point in time and it's saving you 10 or 15% of costs. I don't see why the energy folks will not keep looking for better and better deals to source renewable energy, both to decarbonize and also to reduce their energy cost. This actually leads to a process of innovation. And definitely the circular economy space is one where these questions keep getting asked all the time. Because so far, we looked at the waste as something that had to be thrown away. At best, you were compliant with whatever regulations you had to deal with the waste. But today, if you look at it as a byproduct, it's a continuous process of innovation trying to create value from this. Just as it is in product development, where you keep asking the question, hey, how much more can I do by using sustainability practices? So completely agree with your question. And this, I think, is a normal business practice, which you would anyway do. So why would you not do it with sustainable practices too?
And picking up what you say about compliance, people will look at their figures, their returns and go, excellent, tick in that box, we're compliant. Is compliant good enough anymore?
Whether it is good enough or not, you should be compliant.
Of course.
If you're not compliant, you're asking for a lot of trouble. The question to ask is, and let's take the obvious example of pollution caused by businesses. There are some compliances which you must meet. But the question to ask is there a way to do this by which we are not only compliant, but we are adding value to the business? Nobody asked us to be a zero waste to landfill organization. We were very compliant with what the regular regulations were. But we discovered that if we were to become a zero waste to landfill organization, there was innovation in the business, there was reduction of cost, it was leading to resilience, and it was leading to better returns. And therefore we stepped up and said, okay, let's make as many locations as we can zero waste to landfill, because in the process we'll be saving a bunch of money and we'll be causing a lot of innovation, some of which in the process area and some of which in the product. So, I mean, if there is value beyond compliance, then just ticking off the box of compliance is actually foolishness for a business.
Let's move on to collaboration, because the field of sustainability almost feels very different compared to a lot of other business sectors. Normally businesses are protecting their secrets, protecting their strategies, the way they go about it. But sustainability feels a lot more open. Everyone is learning from each other. I guess my question is not whether it's a good thing. Of course it's a good thing that businesses, little groups learn from each other. How can businesses collaborate effectively and learn from each other to accelerate the pace of change?
Very good question. The problems we are trying to solve are very large. And it is very unlikely that an individual company will be able to solve all these problems on their own. So if I were to go back to the example of sending waste to be incinerated in the cement kiln where there are no emissions, it's not something you can do on your own. First, you've not only got to work with the cement company, you've also got to see whether the regulations of the place where you're operating, whether that allows you to be able to do such a thing. We discovered that the kinds of waste that we could send to cement kilns, we were not allowed to send them across state borders within the country. And so the government, the pollution department, the cement company, and factories like ours had to work together to change the rules and ensure that the regulations didn't get in the way of sustainable practices of the future. This is just one example. When we wanted to double energy productivity, we were the first in the world to commit to doubling energy productivity. At that time, we didn't have an idea of what were all the solutions that we could possibly adopt and what was actually available. So over time, we partnered with an Indian government company actually called Energy Efficiency Services Limited. And through them, we accessed energy efficient motors, energy efficient air conditioners that were the best in the world, and were able to achieve our goals much faster than we had committed. One of our factories actually doubled energy productivity in less than 4 years' time, when the Climate Group program allowed you to do it in 25. In a sense, it's an answer to an earlier question you'd asked, that we could have complied with the Climate Group regulations of doubling energy productivity in 25 years, but we saw there was value and got it done in 4, because it made more sense to save money today and not just burn money and keep saving it in little bits over the next 25 odd years. So yes, you need to collaborate, you need to work with people who offer solutions, who can help you modify regulations so that sustainable practices could be accelerated and enhanced.
And finally, one other question. Whenever I'm speaking to sustainability professionals, wherever they may be in the world, a common complaint, a common problem people have is successfully integrating sustainability operations into a business, particularly if it's an older business, a more heritage operation. What advice would you have for people about how you go about integrating sustainability into a business?
You know, you should start the process by asking the question, how can I leverage sustainability practices to do business better? And it is okay to define better business by saying that we want to make more profits, we want to make more sales, we want to make operations more efficient. It's okay, as long as you also ensure that in that process you are also adding decarbonization, pollution reduction, and things which are good for the planet. Now, once you've asked that question, you will then start getting a whole bunch of alternatives for your business. to make it systematized, institutionalized, and embedded in the business, some of the things that a business can do is to build a framework of the organization will do when it comes to sustainability and why. And then integrate sustainability success metrics into business success metrics. While I'm saying this as the first step, it doesn't necessarily happen as the first step, but over a period of time, it is very important that this does happen. Now, once you have sustainability success metrics, and you were able to deploy them across different functions, say purchasing, manufacturing, HR, sales, whichever functions, as long as you have relevant sustainability metrics in their in their business program, these things will happen. But people will need to be trained. So there's a lot of capacity building that is required to help colleagues within a business adopt and practice sustainable ways of doing business. Other things that can be done is if you have a risk register for the business, which I'm guessing every business does, integrate climate risk into the risk register. Again, if you have an internal program of business excellence or internal audit, integrate sustainability into these processes so that when somebody is taking a look at how well are you doing, are you operating your business, they are not only looking at the conventional parameters, they are also looking at sustainability practices. And then if you have a process, a transparent and fair process of sustainability action being taken by departments or by companies within your group and so on, you have a very nice program by which you've set goals, you've built competence, you've done projects, and now you have an assessment program of how well you've done, followed by a reward and recognition program. It is almost like implementing a change management program, which many businesses have actually done in the past. And only this time you'll be doing it in the area of sustainability. So these are some of the actionable steps that organizations can take to prioritize sustainability, the most important of which is to integrate sustainability metrics into business success metrics, because everything else then follows.
Now, one thing I can guarantee you is next time that question comes up at any of our events, I'm going to direct people towards the last 5 minutes of this presentation. That's a wonderful blueprint and a wonderful place for us to finish today. Thank you so much for your time today. You've been really generous with your advice and your expertise, and we really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you very much. Pleasure being with you.
Thank you very much indeed.